This is Noisy Neighbors, a podcast community of creatives and entrepreneurs sharing their creative process, business strategies, inspirations, and challenges. This isn't just a podcast, but a community for creatives to connect, share, and express themselves. Come join the discussion, share your own creative vision, and tell your authentic story. Follow and join the discussion via Instagram at Noise Complaints Group, and join our Facebook group by searching Noisy Neighbors Podcast to connect with each other. Peace, and thank you for listening. So, how a small niche following online presence can be powerful. So, I figured we could start by just kind of going over why that's important in 2018. Like, why is that important now more than ever?
Right. I mean, I think the big thing is, as we all know, everything's not for everybody. And a lot of times we get caught up in the feeling that we need to appeal to as wide of a base as possible. And so then we don't really take the time to understand who our real audience is. So I think narrowing it down to like a niche audience helps give you that distinct idea of who your fans are, who to market to, and that makes everything more powerful. And then from there, you can grow. And when I say niche, at least, it doesn't have to be like a super small audience. It's just super targeted. So you're super targeted in who you're talking to, who you're making your product for, who you're making music for, and how you want them to experience it. So it's not like it has to be restrictive, but it's really powerful in having them engaged and having them spread the message of your music.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like a niche is not necessarily like something so unique that no one's ever seen before. Like it could also just be a group of like-minded people. So finding that very targeted people that's going to relate to what you're trying to put out there. That's also going to relate to your message and your story and what you're talking about, your content, and all of that, right?
Yeah. Plus, I mean, all these major businesses are realizing like how much money there is in niche audiences and are really appealing to them. That's why they have so many shows on Netflix, why Amazon has so many products available. Mm-hmm. They know the big products are going to be heavy money, but if you want to pick up that other money and attract other users and bring other people in, you need things that appeal to them. So you go big on volume and make a wide niche products. You bring in niche products. And then for artists, that just means like labels, they can't scale to so they're really focused on mainstream hits, big hits. That's how they're going to make their money. So you can go the other route and fill that gap that they leave behind by hitting niche audiences with your music.
Yeah. And then it's funny because you mentioned Netflix, right? Not just Netflix, but you're competing for eyes with everything, not just music or whatever world you're in as a creative. Like you're competing with the attention span of 1,000 billions of other things, really, because everyone's putting something out there. And the average person is putting something out there on a rapid basis on social media. So you're competing against phones, computers, everything where that content exists. So once you kind of find that niche audience, it's kind of like you know those are going to be more repeat customers. They're going to come back more often too.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the other part of that is allows you to be like really true to yourself and make what you want. And usually if you're not stretching yourself thin and you're making what you really believe in and what you care about, the quality is going to be higher than if you're trying to make something you're not, to appeal to a larger audience that may not actually benefit you or may not be the best audience for you. And that's the big thing now is with everyone spread so thin with their attentions being pulled apart, you have to hit the quality factor.
Yeah, that's true. That's also just for longevity too. Because if you're making something that's for everybody, it's clickbait really at that point. Whereas it's something that's a little bit more quality and people are going to come back to it later down the line.
Yeah, exactly. And then, quality stuff is going to rise to the top. It may take longer for it to spread, but if people know you are consistently delivering quality, goes to your brand and your reputation as an artist.
Mhm. What are some, let's think about what are some good examples that you've seen as niche artists? People that found like a niche audience and figured out how to kind of maneuver and work that niche audience.
I mean, Pusha T talks about it all the time.
Mm.
Like Real Street Dudes, like when they were with Clips, he was talking about they were doing shows for drug dealers. They didn't have big hits. He talks about how he knows his lane. He's not expecting big hits. He knows who his core fan base is. He markets to them. I think Odd Future, when they first came out, they were like, there was a very distinct group of kids who were into them, and those kids were super vocal and loud.
Yeah, I think those are good examples because, like you said, Odd Future and people like Tyler the Creator, for the most part, they're unapologetically themselves. They're just doing how they want to do it, when they want to do it, and like you said, without compromise. And when you're just serving that market, I feel like in today's world, people are so concerned about appealing to everyone and then also not upsetting people. And they were the perfect example. I mean, they were kind of aggressive with it and didn't care, and they've refined that quite a bit now. But they really caught that initial fan base of loyal fans. I was definitely one of them that just because they didn't care. You know, I may not agree with every message, but I was like, these kids don't. They're just doing their own thing, whether it's cool or not. And now look at it, like Tyler's blown up. He's really kind of the ambassador of Supreme. Like people don't realize that Supreme and whole everything that they are now as a brand really holds a lot of respect to Tyler.
And then Tyler, he stuck to his niche, stuck to his core, and then Clips and Pusha T as well. And their talent was recognized, the quality of their work was recognized, and it expanded way past that core audience. But probably now, even when they make music, who's that core audience? If they're going to go talk about it, they're going to go spread the word. And as we know, word of mouth marketing is the most powerful marketing you can have. So understanding, and you can't make a niche product without understanding exactly who your fan base is, who your core audience is, and all of that. So, and when you do understand that, you know how to market to them, you know how to make a good product, and it just helps your career tremendously in every aspect of it.
Yeah. I was thinking about this too. I feel like it's kind of one of those chicken and the egg situations where people are probably like, do I spend time just making something and then finding people who like that? Or do I do the research to find out who's the right person, who's the right audience first, and then make something for that audience?
Yeah, and I think that's like, I think we talked about this before. It's like, are you super talented where you're so talented, whatever you make is going to resonate with someone? Or do you have to be a bit more calculated and understand, like, this is what I want to make, here's how it connects, and then be a bit more calculated in that sense, where you can't just do everything you want to do. Maybe the core of what you want to do is exactly what you want to do, but then you have to find those appealing factors to add in. So maybe it's like finding beats you wouldn't normally use, but then the lyric and messages in the songs are the same, but it's a more appealing beat. But I think it just depends on who the artist is and what they can get away with, because I'm sure there's artists as well who are supremely talented where they don't have to think about it. They don't have to think about, all right, this is what's going to appeal to people. These are tricks I need to add in my songs. This is what's great. No, they're just like, all right, this is exactly what I'm going to make. I'm going to put it out just like that. And they're so talented that people eat it up. So I think there's always a balance. I think you can be successful either way.
That's true. Yeah. I guess probably for early artists, it makes sense to just start creating and find what your sound, whatever it is going to be just your style. Find that first. Find what makes you feel comfortable, because the worst thing they can do is spend and end up having a whole platform and career where they have to basically are in debt to those fans. You might make a lot of money But then at the same time, you're going to have to deal with like, hey, I may want to try to veer off to something else and try something different, but those fans are going to get upset with you. And I think that's kind of one of the benefits of a niche audience. They like you for you, probably more than anything else. So they're going to rock with you kind of no matter what you try to do. I mean, you see, you know, and then you can expand that as well. They're always kind of going to be there to be your loyal fans to support you and your mission.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely that. And then I think you hit on like the big thing, like even if you know who you want to talk to, it's going to take you time to figure out what your style is and that unique style just to you. So you need to always start creating. The more you create, the faster you're going to get to that style that's going to resonate with people. Another artist who really takes the knowing your niche to heart is Nipsey Hussle. And he understands who his core fan base is tremendously, and he's built a huge career just understanding that, selling $100, $1,000 mixtapes, understanding these are my core fans, these are the people who are going to support me. And it's given him a lot of freedom. I think, what was it, last year is when he got a label imprint and a lot of power to do so. Basically said he wasn't going to make that move until he got a deal beneficial to him. And it was because he understood who his core fan base was able to connect with them, and was able to prove the value of those people before making any other business decisions. And it's given him a lot of leverage in his career. And he's not aiming for everyone. He's not aiming for mainstream. He understands the power of a niche market, niche audience.
Yeah. I mean, I see that all the time. It's like people, you know, they got a certain group of fans, but they're not blasted everywhere and promoted everywhere. They usually just kind of market directly to those people. And then what you just kind of explain is how lucrative it can be. Like when you get to the point, once you understand that fan base, you kind of do whatever with them that's going to engage them in some way. When you mentioned Nipsey, I was thinking about another artist, Burner. A lot of people don't know Burner, but Burner's like really tight with Wiz Khalifa. He's been on a lot of his projects, and he's just like a staple in the weed community of just like smoker rappers. And Burner, I think over the past like 8 to 10 years, has released like 40 albums or something crazy like that. Like he's just been putting out project after project, and his last one was like 20 something songs. But there's kind of this debate now of like, do you make your album long or do you make it short? But somebody that's like Burner, he was a perfect example. He just put it out there of however many songs he wanted. No one in his fan community like debated it. They were just happy to get Burner music. And then a month later, in the past 2 months, he's dropped 2 albums. He put out another album. He probably knows that his fans are just hungry for his music. You know, he pretty much just raps about his life as an entrepreneur in the weed industry. He owns the whole Cookies brand. So he's like killing it. And that's really much what he raps about, is like his life of that and the reality of it. Like you tell your story, you're going to find the right people. And over time, you can build that up to something.
Yeah. And the question of like long album, short album, or project, or whatever you want to call it now, I think that's a whole nother discussion. But like just understanding your fans and that allowing you to make targeted business decisions. That clip we shared from the Vice News segment on Brent Faiyaz, like they're targeting a niche where, I mean, Brent is blowing up, but the way they're doing business is they're getting data on who their core fans are, and that's where they're putting ads and shows, and that's where they're focusing their monetary spend, because they know they can recoup it, because they know exactly where their super fans are located using data. And so like if you're not focused on a niche, then you're not going to get that data as well, or you're not going to understand where the data is pointing you to. It's going to give you clarity and direction on every business decision you make if you understand like those super fans and your niche market, and just helps give your brand clarity as well.
Yeah, that's so true. Because I mean, with Brent's camp, they're basically like they're saving so much money, or preventing the loss of so much money. They're not making kind of frivolous decisions by saying like, you know what, I think my fans are in, Texas. Let me just pull up to Texas. They know specifically where they are, because Spotify gives you that data, and your Instagram will also give you that information. So you can kind of track that out and see where people are, but also it's storytelling in and of itself, knowing like where do you connect the dots, what makes sense, where what people are resonating in which age groups, etc.
Yep, and it's allowing them to find like new money. Like when they planned their tour, at first they weren't planning Europe. Then they looked at the data, saw, oh, there's cities in Europe we can hit as well. Let's add those on. And I mean, I know there were big cities mentioned when they were doing that, but now when you're like running ads, you don't have to only focus on like major metropolitan cities. Like you don't have to focus your spend on New York, where now when you're running an ad, basically for placement, you're competing on a dollar amount with other people and other companies who want to run ads in large markets as well. So now if you know, okay, I don't need to run an ad in New York. I don't have the New York fan base, but in this smaller town, I do have a fan base. Let me target my ads there. Your spend is going to be much lower and you're going to get way better ad coverage because you know exactly where to target your ads. And it may not be a big city. Yeah, you might want to do a show in a big city, but that's just extra money you're going to spend on ads and things to promote it there. And it may not be the right investment for you at the time.
That's so true. Cool, man. So let's just wrap it up and say like one key tip that somebody can start with today to start building a niche audience.
I think the biggest key tip is just sit down, think about the values that are important to you and that are in your music, and imagine the type of person that those would resonate with. And when you imagine that as you make music, imagine that person, imagine that you're making music for that specific person that you imagine, and start there as like, this is who my niche audience is, this imaginary person is going to fill up a stadium, and that person is who I'm making music for. And just start there and then test the waters and see, okay, this does resonate with that person, or this doesn't resonate with that person, but I'm seeing that it's resonating with a similar person with slight differences. And then you can start understanding like, okay, here's my real niche. So visualize who you're connecting with.
Yeah, I would build off of that, and I'd say my tip is just nothing new is under the sun. If they, everybody's already fans of somebody else, so there's probably another artist or band or creative that you follow that is serving the audience that you're trying to connect with. Or even if they are just the inspiration for you, start to see what their fans are like, what their fans are thinking, go through their comments, study everything that you see when they're at shows, just get familiar with that potential audience and think, like you said, is this somebody I can imagine at my shows? Is this somebody I can imagine engaging with the stuff that I'm putting out? And really just kind of build from there and start to refine it, because it's probably going to change as you change as a person too. I think certain artists do a good job of having long-term careers like Jay-Z, because not only is he recognizing the people that, related to him with reasonable doubt, he recognized that they're growing and aging the same way he is. They might be married with kids, they might be having a family life now, they're trying to figure out other things. So he dropped 444, he made it like, hey, this is where I'm at my stage now. I want to share this. And people, probably those old school fans are probably like, hey, shoot, me and Jay are at the same point. Financially it might be different, but, but we're at the same kind of point in our lives of having the same struggles, pains, and all of that. So,
yeah. I think another big key takeaway is, as an artist, remember, everything is not for everybody. So if you're getting negative feedback here and there, understand your music may just not be for those people, but also understand the difference between critical feedback that you should take and will make you better, versus just this is feedback from someone isn't my who isn't my target audience, who isn't my niche audience or core fan. Like I know it's hard getting negative feedback or people saying, "Oh, I don't like your music," but just remember everything's not for everybody and keep going.
Cool. Yeah, that's the point. Everything is not for everyone. So if there's anything to take away from this, it is simply that, and don't stress about it.